So wait, it was just you and Uncle Vaughn, right? Or did you have
Oh, no, we had a brother,
another brother?
Dick, yeah.
I don't
Dick
know.
had muscular dystrophy, though,
Oh, okay.
and Dick was in a wheelchair.
Like his whole life?
No, up till age 2, he was a very normal child, but he began having muscular problems.
He was the youngest?
Yeah, he was the youngest. And he lived to age 21 or 22. And he died because the muscles in his throat and in his system just couldn't work anymore. And the muscles were turning to fat. And so he actually smothered, had lungs filled with water. And
Right.
he couldn't spit it out or control it.
He was a ham
Yeah, he
radio
was.
operator, wasn't he?
Yeah, very good one
Your
too.
dad was, and then
He was
who
the-
was the next? Was it you or him?
My dad and I did it together.
Okay.
Really?
And Vaughn never did it?
No, he had no interest in it.
How old were you when your dad taught you?
I was still in high school.
And what did your dad do for career? Like, what did he do for work? Was he in the military?
No, well, yeah, he was in World War I.
Oh, I
He
didn't
was
know
a
that.
pilot in World War I. Worked for the Canadian Air Force and flew Jennies. And knew a guy by the name of Vernon Castle who flew a fighter, a Jenny as well. And he always carried it in the airplane on his shoulder. And he was an ace and shot down a lot of enemy aircraft. My dad didn't know him then, but he knew him when he came back from this assignment in Germany. And at that time, the Canadian Air Force was down at Kelly Air Force Base in Texas, and they did away with the Canadian Air Force and called it the Royal Canadian Air Force. So they had to let the people out of the service that were in, and they had to sign up for the new Canadian service. And my dad refused to sign so that he would get out of the service. And the reason he did was this Vernon Castle, who became a friend of his, came back with this and lost his life in a training flight at Kelly Air Force Base.
Oh, was your dad there when he did?
So that got my dad all upset about flying those lousy airplanes, you know.
Yeah.
And so he got out of the service.
And
Did
do you,
re-up.
do you know how your dad met your mom? Do you know this story?
I don't know. I really don't know. If I knew, I've forgotten at the moment.
Yeah. And did your mom didn't work, right?
But he met her in Canada.
Was she Canadian?
Yeah, she was Canadian, so was he.
Oh.
And he was naturalized, and she thought she was a citizen by virtue of the fact that she married him. And I think a lot of people thought that's what was true. But they found out after Pop died, she went to work for the school system in Ohio. And as such, she had to register to get a Social Security number and get involved with the federal system. And they found out that she was a non-citizen.
Oh, really?
And she didn't know she was a non-citizen.
All those years?
Yeah, so she went to work and studied and went down and took all the exams for citizenship and everything went fine. She became a citizen.
Oh, wow.
But all those years, she thought she was a citizen.
Wow.
My dad was. He had become naturalized. In fact, I don't know where it is, but I remember seeing the naturalization papers.
Oh, wow. Huh.
I think Vaughn may have some of that stuff because Mother lived with Vaughn for a long time.
Did you know your grandparents at all? Or was that
I knew my grandma,
your grandma?
dad's mother.
Yeah, Donnie. Name was Donnie. D-O-N-I-E.
Oh. The third spelling.
My, you said my grandparents?
Right, so your
Dad's mom, I
Right.
know, but I didn't know her.
That was Dad's mom, yeah.
No,
No,
your
mom,
My,
his grandma.
I knew.
my father's mother.
Right, I didn't know her.
Oh, right.
I knew Ruth.
Did you know your grandparents well?
Oh, she lived with us.
Oh.
And then I knew...
Oh, that's D-O-N-I-E?
Yeah,
Oh, it's your grandma.
yeah.
Oh.
And she died back in Florida.
Oh, wow.
With my dad and mother.
What's your fondest memory with her?
She read stories to us as kids.
Oh, really?
All the time she was reading stories.
Hmm.
And we always wanted to hear her stories.
Hmm.
It's not stories that she made up, but stories she would read.
Oh, cool.
Used to read the chapter every night, you know. Then we'd go to bed.